In this video, we're going to take a look at Song Doctor, which is under the Analyze tab in Music Buddy. And when you start, you'll see a blank screen, and you go to the Upload Audio button and press it and upload an MP3, and you'll see something that looks like this. So I've started with Love Me Do by the Beatles. Once it's loaded in, you can see that it'll figure out the key and the tempo and the time and the duration. It's 2 minutes and 21 seconds, so it's a short song. And when we've analyzed it, we can specify the fidelity of the analysis. So in this case, for each beat in the song, we're dividing it into 4 sections for frequency analysis. The drop downs for genre, key, and mode are hints that you can give to the analysis engine. Love Me Do is a pretty simple song, so we don't really need it. It can figure things out on its own. And I'll also note that I have a new Mac with an M5 processor. It's got a graphics processing unit that's leveraged in this analysis, so my machine is pretty fast. To do this analysis on my machine, it takes about 30 seconds, and you'll see a progress meter here. Now, when I started working on Song Doctor, my original idea was to do a frequency analysis of the song, figure out the chords, and then create a score automatically, because I play a lot of music that requires lead sheets and so on. And so we can do that. And we'll say use the chords and the melody from this particular analysis. And we can, down the road in a subsequent video, I'm going to show you how we can break this song up into the tracks that it was recorded with, like drums and harmonica and guitar and vocals and that sort of thing. So we say build score, and we get a score, and we can play it. And you'll notice that that sounds pretty much like Love Me Do. It's not exactly the same chords, and the reason for that is when we do a frequency analysis of a particular beat or measure in the song, all of the instruments are going to be munged together into that frequency analysis. So when you have a chord chart for a song, Love Me Do is pretty simple. It's basically 2 chords. It's G and C. And so it looks much simpler on a lead sheet than what you'll get from the analysis for Music Buddy. And it's because all of the notes for all the different musicians, the drums, the bass, the guitar, the harmonica, the vocals, everything is all munged together into that same frequency analysis. So the chords that you see are actually representative of what's going on harmonically at that moment in the song, but they're not what you will see necessarily in a lead sheet. If you look at the chords by measure here, you'll see, this is the introduction, so it's really based on the harmonica, but you'll see that there's a lot of G's and C majors, and there's some A minors, and of course A minor is a very similar chord to a C major chord, and so on and so forth. So if you play the chords that are in the lead sheet that's generated from Music Buddy, it'll sound like what the musicians are doing, but it's not going to be that simple chord sheet that you would see on the internet, for example. And so Music Buddy will divide each of the sections of the song into measures and beats, and you can see there are individual beats with chords on them, and they are aggregated into the measure level, which is sometimes different from what you see at the beat level for the reasons that I explained earlier. And it also gives you a functional analysis of what's going on harmonically at that moment. So we can play the song. We can jump around. Always be true. And another feature that we can do is that we can snip out parts of the song. So if we set a looping area, and so to loop we can alt click to set the start and shift click to set the end, or we can just pick some measures. So I'm going to shift click to get a couple of contiguous measures. And then in looping mode, when we play it, you know I love you, I'll always be true. You know I love you. And we can also change the speed of the song, so we can slow it down without changing the pitch. We can add a click to count in at the pitch that, or the speed that we're currently running at. And we can also do a ramping function where we can say here, the defaults are start at 50% speed and then ramp it up to 100% speed in 4 steps. And so what that will let us do is start slow and learn the piece, and then speed it up as we get it under our fingers. And we can also look at the harmonic content of each measure and each beat. And again, this is a little bit oriented towards guitar players, although I think this particular feature is useful to pretty much any musician. We can pick a chord and we'll see the notes in the chord, and these the size of the note on this radial chart is representative of the volume of that particular note, and they're color coded, so the B has a red border around it. The octave that the note is most represented in is shown here on the radial diagram, and it's also represented here in this heat map. And so we can see at that particular beat, the B note is very strongly represented compared to the others, and you get a pop-up here that'll give you some more information about the intensity of the note and also how it's spread across the 7 different octaves that are tracked. And it'll also tell you a little bit about the notes and how much energy each of the notes has. And so the other thing we can do is we can pick a section that we're trying to learn, and we can say, let me see the melody. And so it will do its best to try to pick out the most significant notes that are part of the melody. And you can see here on the chart where there's a purple line through it, it means that it was tracked as a melody note. So that's one of the notes that we see in the little mini score that's here. We can change the number of notes that are shown on the grid and also on the radial chart. These are the ones that are a little less significant. And we can also get guitar chords. We can see them at different parts of the neck. We can do close voicings and drop 2 voicings, and see different ways to voice a guitar chord. Of course, all that drop 2 business means something to guitarists and probably not trumpet players. At any rate, so that is pretty much it. We use sound fonts to play the notes. Like when we click on a chord, you can change it from piano to other instruments depending on your preferences. And I think that's pretty much it for an overview. I'm going to jump to the next section, which is going to show how to split the song into tracks. And in order to do that, we have different models that we can use. The standard is pretty good for this song because there's not a whole lot going on. So I'm going to get this started. It takes, on my very fast laptop, it takes 2 or 3 minutes to do. So I'm going to put that information in a second video. So I'm going to show you how to get it started. That's all you do is just click the button and it's going to start its analysis. As I said, it's going to take a couple of minutes, and I'm going to come back with video 2 and show you how that works.